When will digital humans become the protagonists of the virtual world? Panelists: Shen Wei, Global Vice President of NVIDIA and General Manager of Professional Graphics Computing in Asia Pacific. Wu Jingyi, OSA/IEEE Fellow, Deputy Dean of Shanghai Tech University. Host: Si Xiao, Vice President of Tencent Group, Dean of Tencent Research Institute. The era of full truth interconnection is coming quietly, accelerating the integration of online and offline across time and space. As an important entrance of full truth interconnection, digital humans can promote a more comprehensive integration of online and offline, creating an immersive full truth experience interact with actionable connections. Since 2022, digital humans have shined in many application scenarios, especially in the opening performances of the Beijing Winter Olympics, weather broadcasts, and sign language commentary, making their user base continuously expand. Explosive events have promoted the digital human industry to be continuously deepened by users. Digital human form, technology and applications have received a lot of attention. The underlying elements that support the rapid development of the industry include the development of technology, new user needs, ecological improvement, and standard support. It seems that there is still a long way to go to achieve good-looking skin and interesting soul at the same time. In the future, digital humans will also become an important entrance in our fully connected life. Therefore, on the evolutionary journey of digital humans, we need to think more: what are the possibilities of digital human applications in the future, and what changes will occur in the technical route? What is the underlying logic of digital human popularity? What are the application scenarios for digital avatars? Is the egg outbreak predictable? How do digital humans have interesting souls? Should digital humans be given independent subject identities? On January 10, 2023, in the third session of the T3 Future Science and Technology Dialogue, Tencent Research Institute specifically discussed digital humans with the theme "When will digital humans become the protagonist of the virtual world, from good-looking skins to interesting souls?" Technical trends, application scenarios, software and hardware integration development and future challenges of this concept. The following are the organized articles of the roundtable discussion session, for the reference of thinkers in various fields. Avatar 1 was released more than 10 years ago. What progress has been made in digital human technology? Si Xiao, Avatar 2, which is currently being screened, is exactly 13 years away from the release of the first film. Both films use digital human technology extensively. In what aspects is the progress of digital human technology in the past 10 years? Shen Wei: I think this decade is a very special and exciting decade, especially in the IT development process. Since 2012, the whole deep learning has made great progress. I think this is a very big milestone. Now we can see that AI and CG can be presented together. I didn't see this 10 years ago. I think this is the biggest breakthrough point in my opinion. The other one is real-time rendering. The rendering rate is increased by at least 20 times through the implementation of rendering technology. This efficiency is very obvious. Wu Jingyi: the entire rendering and modeling technology has made rapid progress in the past 10 years. In fact, everyone is surprised that AI can be used for rendering. It turns out that when people mention AI, their first reaction is to do recognition. But I found that the data-driven model actually has such a big effect in modeling and rendering. I remember that about 5 or 6 years ago, neural rendering, gradually entered the image field. At that time, everyone was still very skeptical. Now neural rendering has become the mainstream method. What this change brings to you is firstly the original high-cost production. For example, a movie cost $1 million per minute. Now the cost will drop very low. If the subsequent production tasks can be realized, the entire production the cost can be almost negligible, which opens the door to the seaside. This is a revolutionary change for AI in the entire production process and rendering process. What is the development trend of rendering technology in the next 10 years? Xiao, let's talk about 10 years in the future, whether the effects of offline rendering or real-time rendering can reach an infinitely close state one day, and offline rendering will also make virtual reality more real, or even surpass reality, regardless of cost. Will the gap between these two narrow further? To what extent can these technologies evolve in general? Wu Jingyi, if we want to look back 10 years, one day if we can achieve lightweight neural rendering on the helmet side, it may be revolutionary, so I think it is possible that this AI algorithm will promote a new generation of rendering. The development of chips has made the rendering chips gradually lightweight, so that your eyeglasses in the future will be small chips instead of rendering in the cloud. I believe that cloud rendering will become excessive for a long time. Shen Wei, in the next 10 years, it may be difficult to avoid the part of the cloud. This is what I think will be the case, but the algorithm part will indeed, so the cost for everyone on the entire application is our cost. It is our investment in hardware, and the other is the overall production cost. This part has shortened the time, so this part has made great progress. We can expect that in the next 10 years, with the advancement of the entire AI algorithm, as far as the iteration of our chips is concerned, I believe that we can get a greater improvement in the overall performance of this part. The second thing I observed is the part of egg. The part of C has become a three-dimensional, or it has become a film and television level. I just talked about the surface layer of the digital human, as well as the soul part. How can I interact with you under the surface layer? I am personally very optimistic. The two sides will definitely collide with greater sparks and produce better results. Xiao, let me briefly summarize, as individual users, the rendering and generation capabilities that can be expected in the future will be like tap water, which can be called at any time at a very low cost, not necessarily buying chips, but through cloud computing with the blessing of AI, through the further evolution of AI capabilities. You can ask for it on demand to achieve simple effects similar to or infinitely close to the rendering accuracy of movies. I think you can imagine this, that is, to open Tencent in various application scenarios. Meetings, even today's online seminar scene, will become very interesting. What is the underlying logic of the popularity of digital people? Xiao, we have also found that more and more movies use digital humans as actors, and many brands also use digital humans as endorsements. Are digital people really popular? What are the common characteristics and reasons of digital people? Is there such a phenomenon in the industry? Will the popularity of digital people become a continuous trend? Phenomenon. Wu Jingyi, at the beginning, digital people must be in the direction of film and television. This field is the best industry that can bring benefits, including the effect that most of you see now are advertising, and it is 2D advertising, there is no real 3D. On the one hand, the terminal may not support it, and on the other hand, there may be no such demand, so this is a huge limitation. Personally, I think whether digital people should look very similar to real people, and how much they should look like, is actually a very difficult question to answer. Those who do technology hope that the digital human will be more like a real person, but if the digital human itself is completely like a real person, it is actually a very boring thing, so the image may be very realistic, but the final selling point, it must be content, and it must be the era when content is king. How to combine the content with the expressions and performances of virtual people to make users feel more interesting is the future of digital human development in the future, and it does not necessarily need to be very real, but it must become interesting, so I think it is interesting, whether it is the appearance or content, is the real selling point in the future. Shen Wei, I have discussed this issue with many art creators in the past. Is it necessary to have someone who resembles a person? Is this necessary in terms of this kind of artistic expression? This thing sometimes has a hazy beauty. Is it better? So the next question is, what is your content? And I think there may be several development directions in the future, so this does not mean that everyone is rushing to do this, whether it is good or not. There are still some society also considers this aspect of our humanistic acceptance. How do digital humans have interesting souls? Si Xiao, we have discussed technologies related to digital humans, how to achieve a good-looking skin, how we can make digital humans more like a person in appearance, and in the future, we will go in a more realistic and low-cost direction. What will probably depend on development of technology. Shen Wei, if we want to talk about the soul, how should we express the soul? It must be through interaction, otherwise there is no way to show it. In fact, the part I saw this time is relatively new, and I will see more and more. How do I do these language learning, the part of the large language model LMMs, how to combine with the digital human? I have now made a beautiful skin, or a fuzzy but very attractive skin, but if I don't have a good interactive mechanism behind it, what is the use of my skin? We have seen this place for a few weeks now. Judging from the reflection of the whole incident, it is still very exciting. It should be an engine model like GPT 3.5. Suppose we use GPT-4. It can bring out more excitement, and there will be a lot of room for imagination in it, which is very worth looking forward to. Si Xiao, I don't know if this year will be called the first year of AI, but it is true that from the generation of pictures in the past 6 months to today's display can generate 3D, and the dialogue is more like a person. This technology has suddenly reached an explosive level. Growth point, what is the reason behind this? Why suddenly there is an inflection point? Wu Jingyi, I think it is because of deep learning. For a long time, people thought that deep learning might be more suitable for dimensionality reduction problems, such as recognition. It can do dimensionality reduction, maybe it can also do dimensionality enhancement, and turn a low-dimensional signal into a high-dimensional signal. I think this is a problem that everyone suddenly realizes. Thanks in no small part to NVIDIA's GPUs. Although AI is very powerful, I personally think that it is not enough to use it in digital humans. What is an interesting soul? First, this person must have his own personality traits. A cookie-cutter soul is not a soul. The second point is that what I think is lacking is emotion. I think emotion is extremely lacking in digital humans. If we must look at it from the perspective of data, perhaps those characteristics that are not important from the perspective of data are the most important. It was lost in the process of learning and training, so I think this is a very challenging problem. If you can't do emotions, I think to a large extent, you, a digital person, will become quite boring. Shen Wei, I would like to add that the last one is very correct. In fact, this is also a development direction we have observed. When I introduced Lao Huang just now, I used a lot of technologies called audio to face and audio to gesture. In fact, I think the most important thing is next. It is audio to emotion, which is very interesting. This may reflect what was just mentioned. This is a problem that needs to be broken through. Indeed, we are also starting this matter, please wait and see. How do you view the integration and development relationship between software and hardware? Si Xiao, how to understand the relationship between software and hardware, or we talked a lot today about games, audio-visual entertainment, or the pursuit of realistic soft things. What is the change between hardware and software? Something like that. Shen Wei, just look at NVIDIA itself. I believe that before 2012, people may have the impression that NVIDIA is a graphics card company that makes games. In fact, After we developed CUDA in 2006, we actually entered the industry with one foot. In the field of HPC high-performance computing, it is used a lot in China, but it is some very special industries. For example, I do some polymer simulations today, and I use it a lot in the Chinese Academy of Sciences or universities. After all, this is still a small industry. Public. Is CUDA a piece of software that has led to the development of our HPC today? Of course, after 2012, the whole deep learning started. This is also based on CUDA. On this basis, we can cooperate with Google to do a lot of training. From the perspective of our company in the future, we think that this will definitely be a parallel of hardware and software. In the past, we may only think about when we are making chips. In fact, when CUDA first came out, if we were designing chips, we made a lot of compromises, but in fact, before 2012, we actually sold the most graphics cards. For general game graphics cards, you really use very little in the field of high-performance computing, so why do we still do this? The reason for doing it is already obvious, so we now have a very good reason to say that I will continue to cultivate and develop in this ecology. The Omniverse we saw today is also an example. The development of chips is not just hardware iterations. We are not just the performance of traditional graphics cards today. Professional software works with some professional graphics cards. On the one hand, hardware will integrate more AI and traditional CG capabilities. On the other hand, what we will see is that we will develop software, and we will use many technologies that we think will be used in the industry or in different fields. The functions that will be encountered are better integrated into the hardware through software. I think the combination of the two will become more and more in-depth, so I think that hardware and software are a trend that goes hand in hand and integrates. Should digital humans be given independent subject identities? Si Xiao, the avatar of a digital human in the virtual world should not be given a subject identity, even regarded as an independent personality as a subject in life, and even given legal rights. It seems that a digital human with an independent personality and interesting soul, and a human-like appearance, or even a robot, should be given an independent subject qualification, and even be given some legal rights. Shen Wei, personally, I think that what you can see may not be a comprehensive and full-featured digital human. I think it may still be a digital human formed according to the tasks assigned to it by the designer. For example, it may be that I am a service. A type of digital person may have a specific target group. For example, I am a service type today. If you replace a bank teller, for example, his performance will be as human beings, and he may expect its response. It can be expected. If we go in this direction, I don't think there are too many legal restrictions. Wu Jingyi, what kind of data is used in the training process of digital humans, and the related models are subject to another designer? How can you define an independent thinking ability and independent personality? So I think this matter itself is a problem. It is a false proposition. I think this false proposition is largely due to the limitations of machine learning methods. Regardless of whether it is the current egg or anything else, in my opinion, it has not broken through to create new knowledge. In my opinion, if it cannot create new knowledge, it is not a subject with independent personality, so I think that unless this matter can be broken through in the framework of the entire algorithm, then I think that in the short term, the fact that digital humans are given legally independent identities is untenable.